Hey everyone, how you guys going? Welcome back to my channel. This is the best channel for those who are wanting to gain weight by building muscle. In today's video, I'm bringing an upper body workout tutorial for you guys. I posted a low body workout tutorial last year for you guys, which is one of my popular videos on my channel, where we talked about, how the postures and techniques and things like that should be for all of your low body basic movements. And exactly the same thing we're going to do today, where I'm going to take you guys through with basic upper body movements so that you can ensure you do those exercises with correct postures, correct techniques, and you actually maximize growth by actually performing the exercises the right way, the correct way, without injuring yourself or without hurting yourself, right? So hang in there, stay tuned, sit tight, and let's get learning. So the first exercise that I'm going to talk about is our shoulder presses, right? So I'm going to grab a stool for this exercise. You can do this exercise standing or seated, or however, if you train at a gym, then of course you'll have benches and things like that to use. So doesn't really matter how you do it. And again, I'm not going to get into different variations of shoulder presses and things like that in this video. We are just going to talk about the basic movement and what the posture should be, because once you learn that, then no matter what kind of variations are there, you can try everything and you will still be okay, and you will understand those variations, right? So the first thing for any kind of shoulder press is, again, the starting position. If you have watched my low body workout tutorial, you would know that how important it is to have a good, sturdy, nice upright starting position of an exercise, right? Whether you do it standing, you want to make sure that your chest is out, shoulders back, abs nice and engaged, right? Same thing applies when you're doing an exercise seated down, right? So basically, instead of sitting like this, where I'm more tend to kind of letting my upper body let go loose, I would want to sit on the tip of the chair, on the edge of the chair, and have that nice upright posture, right? Again, my core is nice and tight, my chest is out, and my shoulders are pulled back, right? This is the kind of posture that I want to stay in throughout the movement, right? And then of course you have your dumbbells in your hands. So what you want to kind of keep in mind is that when you are doing the exercise, when you're doing a shoulder press, this shoulder joint, you don't want to compromise the shoulder joint. We always want to make sure that we're protecting our joints no matter what kind of exercise we're doing. So firstly, when you're doing a shoulder press, you don't want to overextend your joint, right? Meaning your movement should always stay either in line with shoulders, either in line with your shoulder joint, or at least at an angle forward, right? Not too overextended like that, right? Because that is when you're putting your shoulders at risk. Because what I've seen mostly, sorry, I'm sweating because it's too hot out here and I've just finished my workout. So basically the biggest mistake that I normally see what people do is, especially beginners, is because they're still trying to find their balance, because the hands are moving quite a bit when they're trying to press the weight up. And what happens is that when they go up, their arms go slightly behind them, which means the shoulder joint is coming at risk, right? So you don't want to do that. So you want to ensure that when you're in the starting position, you have your elbows slightly at an angle, so that your joint is nicely protected, and then you want to travel in the same angle all the way up and travel back in the same angle all the way down, right? I wouldn't even recommend staying in line with your shoulder joints. Stay slightly forward, right? That angle is very much important so that you can stay away from any kind of risk. And then, as I said, you bring all the way the weights up and then traveling in the same angle all the way down, whilst maintaining that upright posture that you are in, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that, of course, it's a shoulder movement, it's not an arm movement. Of course, your arms are the ones which are helping travel that weight up and down, but you want to make sure that you create that mind to muscle connection with the actual muscle that you're supposed to feel the burn in, right? So what you want to do is, when you are traveling that weight up, you want to try and aim that you are pressing the weight up using your shoulder, right? Drag your elbows up instead of using your arms, instead of using your arms to press that weight up. So we want to minimize the arm work here, and we want to kind of pretend that we are dragging the elbow up, which will make sure that you're engaging with your shoulders as much as you can, right? And of course, it will take a bit more practice, a bit more time to kind of understand how you should be connecting with your muscle that you're training on. But these are the little cues that you can keep in mind every single time that you do those exercises, so that you actually get to practice what exactly you want to achieve. Is basically that try and use your shoulders to make that movement, so that by the time you're in the third rep or fourth rep of that particular exercise, you should start feeling a burn in your shoulders shoulders. That is how you will also kind of know that, okay, the right muscle is getting used up, right? Otherwise, you will just feel that your arms are hurting, because of course you're using your arms instead of your shoulders to do that particular exercise. So basically what we're doing here is, in that nice upright seated position, we are coming in the starting position of your arms, of your shoulders, which is not directly in line with your shoulder joints or past your shoulder joints. We don't want to do that. We're going to stay in a slight angle forward, and then you want to travel in the same angle all the way up and travel all the way down, right? Making sure that you are kind of dragging your elbows up to ensure you are using your shoulder muscles to perform the movement and not using your arms, right? Also, another thing to keep in mind is that when your arms are all the way up, don't overextend your elbows. Never ever lock your joints, right? You don't want to do that. So you are going all the way up, keep a slight bend in your elbows, and then gently down, and then gently back up, right? Now the next movement is chest press, which is pretty similar to your shoulder presses, but of course your shoulder press was a vertical press and chest press is going to be a horizontal press, right? Now I'm not going to lie down on the floor because I don't really have a mat here, plus I want you guys to clearly see what exactly I'm doing. So I'm going to perform the exercise against the wall, so you can pretend, I'm going to pretend that this is the floor and I am basically lying down on the floor, right? So that's what I'm doing. So again, the same thing for this exercise as well, that when you're performing your presses, you don't want to overextend your arms, right? So this is your shoulder joint. Your arms are always going to stay at an angle forward, right? At an angle, in this case, at an angle downwards, right? Towards your body. You don't want to overextend. You don't want this, or you don't want to compromise your shoulder joints. Again, exactly the same thing what I just talked about during the shoulder press, right? And then of course, your arms in this exercise, you want to make sure that the weight, the barbell or dumbbell, whatever you are holding, it is going in line to your chest, right? Because of course it's a chest exercise. So at that angle, you want to make sure that you're traveling your arms right above your chest. So the dumbbells will come right above your chest, and then you slowly bring them down back to the same angle that you were in, right? So that's what you want to do. Now it's highly recommended that if you have any kind of bench or a flat surface, you do the exercise on that, because what happens is, when you are doing it on the floor, then your arms kind of get restricted here, right? You won't be able to go slightly lower. Which can create that extra stretch in your chest before you go right back up, right? So just for that purpose, if you have a bench or a flat surface where you can create that extra stretch in your chest muscles, then of course that will be great. But of course, if you don't have that, then that's no issues at all. You're still getting a good full range of motion even when you do the exercise on the floor, right? But just make sure you don't rest your arms on the floor for too much, right? You perform the press, you come back up, slightly touch it on the ground, and then go back up, right? You don't want to rest there for too long, because then it just takes that tension away from the muscle that you want to constantly create during the whole set. So make sure you do that. Next thing is, of course, again, it's not an arm movement. Though your arms are moving, you want to kind of try and create that mind to muscle connection with your chest muscles to kind of ensure that you are using your chest muscles whilst performing that movement, right? You want to start feeling a burn in this area. And again, the same trick, like the idea is to kind of drag your elbows upwards. Don't use this part, because mostly what we do is, because we are holding the dumbbell here, so we just use this part to perform the movement. We don't want to do that. You want to pretend that you are putting all the force here. You want to put the force in your elbows, and when you try and drag your elbows forward, you will try and engage all your chest muscles over here. And then when you're up here, you want to try and squeeze as much as you can, and then you go down, and then you go up and squeeze again, then you go down, up and squeeze again. And again, I'm not locking my elbows when I'm completely extended out, still maintaining a slight bend in my elbows, but what I'm trying to do is, throughout the exercise, I'm trying to create that mind to muscle connection with my chest, because I'm not even using a dumbbell right now, but I'm already feeling a burn here, right? And of course, just make sure whilst you perform the whole movement, your chest out, shoulders back, and you have that nice engaged core going on, because if this area is loose, it will impact your attention towards creating that mind to muscle connection, right? So we don't want to do that. So make sure everything is all set and in place when you actually start the movement, and make sure it stays that way. And then all you have to do is just focus on creating that mind to muscle connection, and you will just be fine, right? Moving on to the third exercise, which is our bent over rows, which is a great back exercises. These movements are basically all of compound movements, right? You want to make sure that you master these compound movements, because as your shoulders, your back and your chest, they get stronger, everything else will kind of pick up their pace a little bit. All the smaller muscles will pick up their pace a little bit. So you want to prioritize these big compound lifts and make sure that you get stronger in those. So one of these important movements is your bent over rows, which will work all of your back muscles. And of course it's a pull movement, so of course your biceps, your arms are also going to be involved in this. So the starting position, you want to make sure that you have that nice upright posture. Again, I'm not talking about variations here, I'm just going to talk about the basic variation which is there, and then you can experiment and do all sorts of different things with different kinds of variations that are out there. So basically a bent over row is something you want to engage your back muscles, right? So of course when you're standing straight, you won't be able to do that, so you need to get down in an angle, right, about 45 degrees down. Now when I say you need to bend down, you're not bending just straight down like that, right? If you have seen my previous video, which I would highly recommend, because this is kind of be a similar kind of a movement as to a deadlift that we did in my lower body workout tutorial. I explained it quite in detail there, so definitely watch that one. But exactly the same thing, like we want to make sure that the spine stays straight throughout, right? And the spine won't stay straight if you are not moving your hips, if you're locking your hips and you're just bending forward, right? Your abs are going to go all like loose and stuff, and your spine will automatically have that curve, right? So to make sure that when you're performing that bend, and together with that you want to make sure that your spine stays straight, you want to make sure that when you move that, when you bend forwards, you're also pressing your hips backwards, so that your body is naturally able to create that bend, 45 degree bend, but at the same time keep that spine straight for you as well, right? It's important that everything, the structure of the body shouldn't get ruined, because the energy that that flows in your body will only be able to flow its natural path when the pathway is all right and all correct, and is how it should be, right? It's all aligned the way it should be. But if you're gonna just crunch things up or do something unnatural, then of course the energy will feel restricted, and then it will become difficult for you to do an exercise, and then of course then there are more chances of you injuring yourself and things like that. So basically, getting back to the exercise, bend 45 degrees, but when you're performing that bend, you want to make sure that you press your hips backwards so that your spine stays straight, right? So this is basically the starting position. And again, you still want to make sure that your shoulders are pulled back, chest out, and your core is nice and engaged over here. Now in this position, whatever you're using, whether it's dumbbells or barbells or whatnot, you want to make sure that they stay close to your body. You don't want to go too far away with your dumbbells, because that's when it puts a lot more pressure on your lower back, and we don't want to do that. So for example, if I'm holding a barbell or something like that, and again, no matter what kind of supinated or pronated position you're going with how you're holding the bar or whatnot, I'm not talking about that here. But what you want to do is, with that nice, and I like to kind of squiggle my shoulders a little bit, so that I can ensure that my this section is nice and tight and in control. So that's exactly what you'll see me doing here quite a lot. But anyways, what you want to do is, again, you want to make sure that you incorporating your lats, which is running all the way here, and dragging your elbows up to pull that weight up, right? So basically this is where your bar is. You want to use your lats over here to be able to make that move, to be able to pull the weight towards your belly, okay? But whilst you're doing that, again, we want to make sure that we are minimizing that arm movement as much as possible, and to do that, you want to make sure that you're dragging your elbows backwards, so that you can use more of this area to pull the weight up, which is exactly the muscle we are trying to train here, right? So you want to bring the weight all the way to your belly using your lat muscles, and then when you are nicely in the top position, you want to make sure that you kind of squeeze your shoulder blades. You want to squeeze your shoulder blades together, right? As if there is going to be a slight pinch in this area, right? It's slightly tricky because there are a few things to keep in mind, plus you are in a bent position, which of course normally on a day-to-day basis we don't stay in that bent position for too long, which is exactly what we want to do, so that we can strengthen that back, so that if you do have to stay in that position, you won't start feeling hurt or whatnot, and unwanted pressure won't feel in your lower back and whatnot, right? So it's basically strengthening your back muscles, which is very, very important. So I'm going to show you the whole thing again, so that you kind of understand the little pieces, because there are quite a few things for this exercise, right? So bend forward whilst pressing your hips back at a 45-degree angle. Weights will stay close to your body, don't go too far away. Now drag your elbows up using your lat muscles to pull the weight up and towards your belly, okay? And when you're in this position, just pause for a second and squeeze your back muscles right over here, shoulder blades. Squeeze your shoulder blades and then slowly go down, bring it up. And you will also see that my elbows are not going like this, okay? They're staying close to the body. You want to make sure that whatever kind of movement that we're doing, we're staying close to the body, not going too far away from the body. And then and down, all the way up, squeeze your back and down. That is exactly how you're supposed to perform a bent over row, whether you do it with a dumbbell or a barbell. Now these were the three basic important compound movements that you want to do in most of your upper body workouts, whether you do a push-pull leg split or whether you do upper body lower body split. Definitely prioritize these movements to make sure that you get stronger in these movements, which will again help, you know, strengthening the rest of the smaller muscles of your upper body slightly better. So definitely prioritize these movements. Now coming to some of your arm exercises, which is like bicep curls or tricep curls, tricep exercises or whatnot. Now I'm not going to go too much into detail of, you know, how to do bicep exercises or tricep exercises, but I'm going to talk about a couple of cues for each of these exercises, which will remain same no matter what kind of variation you're doing for biceps or triceps, right? So the one thing to keep in mind for any kind of bicep or tricep exercise for most of the variations is that your arms need to stay close to your body, right? Arms need to stay close to the body. For example, if I just talk about regular bicep curls, this is what you're doing, right? This section, there shouldn't be movement in this section, right? This is the bicep muscle that you're working on, and you want to make sure that you keep it still so that it's in one place, and then you extending the muscle when the weight is nicely lowered, and then you coming back up and you contracting the muscle right over here, and then you going down again, right? So this part, the part that you're supposed to train, is not moving, it's still, right? And you just moving the lower part, and you are flexing, as in like contracting, and then you extending the muscle and then coming back up, right? So that's the one thing you want to keep in mind. Another thing is, of course, it's not just, we're not just doing this, okay? Make sure you maintain the tempo and try and connect to the muscle that you are working on. You always want to make sure that you perform a little 1 second squeeze, no matter what kind of exercise you're doing. When the muscle is completely contracted, you want to make sure that you want to squeeze it just a little bit before you lower the weight again, right? And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people do is, they perform this movement fine, but then they let the weight go. This and then that. This and then this. This lowering part is half of the movement, and if you're letting your weight just drop like that, then you are missing out big time, because if you're supposed to do 10 repetitions, you're basically just doing 10 half repetitions, right? So basically just 5 repetitions. So you don't want to do that, right? Coming up is as important as going down. Going down is as important as coming up, right? And there has to be a tempo. You don't want to do this. You will never be able to feel anything in your muscles, right? You want to slowly come back up and slowly lower the movement down. And when you're up here, you want to make sure that you squeeze the muscle that you're working on, and then you drop the weight down, okay? So make sure you keep that in mind. Now, of course, there are tons of other variations and things like that, so I'm not going to go into all of that. But yeah, these are the basic things that you want to keep in mind whenever you do any kind of bicep curls, right? Next thing is, of course, your tricep exercises. Again, for tricep exercises, whether you're doing, a tricep extension, you want to make sure that your elbows are staying super close to your head. Basically, they are kind of attached to your head, right? And then in that position is how you want to go as low as you can, so that you feel a good stretch in your good extension, good stretch in your triceps, and then using your tricep muscles, you want to press the weight up and squeeze. This is where they are fully extended, and you want to make sure that you stretch the tricep muscles here, squeeze the tricep muscles here, and then you lower and feel a good stretch. Then you come back up, squeeze the tricep muscle, and then you slowly lower down, right? That's what you want to do. Again, don't let the weight drop like this. You want to make sure that it's nicely controlled lower movement and nicely controlled up movement. Okay, that's what you want to do. Another example is like a kickback exercise. Again, you want to make sure that your arm is staying super close to your body. It's basically just attached to your body, and then this upper section, because this is where the tricep is, right? You don't want to move this section. Again, in this exercise, this area was kind of still. It was not moving. Only the forearm section was moving to bring the weight up and down, right? That way you can make sure that the muscle that you're supposed to train, it's staying still, and you can then focus on contracting it, squeezing it, and then having a full extension and stuff like that, right? So same thing here as well. This section won't move, it will stay close to your body. Your forearm is moving, but when you are kicking back, this is where you are engaging the tricep muscle the most, and you want to make sure that you squeeze it slightly, and then you slowly come back down and then go back up again, right? And when you do this exercise, mostly you have to have that bend that I talked about in the bent over rows, that 45-degree bend. So that's what you can do. You can take support from a wall or something like that, and then you can just make sure that you're using your tricep muscles to perform that kickback. Again, mind to muscle connection will come in handy here, and then when you're fully kicked back, you want to squeeze your muscles, tricep muscles, and slowly down, and then again, and down, and then again, right? So that is what you're doing. So basically close to the body, and then the top part will stay kind of stuck to your body, and only the forearm side is moving. And then you just want to make sure that mind to muscle connection is created, and you're squeezing the muscle that you're working on, so that you can keep the muscles activated throughout the repetitions to have that constant tension going on them, so that they can kind of we can create that damage that we want to create on those muscle fibers. We can break down those muscle fibers, and then of course be sure to fuel yourself well, have your surplus calories, so that you can provide your body with everything that your muscles require for that recovery, for that growth, and things like that, right? And to guide you guys with the calorie side of things, I've shared 2 fantastic videos. One of them talk about my best 5 weight gain foods that you can incorporate in your food plan, and the other one talks about the 5 best snack options that you can include in your weight gain food plan. So definitely check out all of these videos to just keep on gaining and keep on moving forward in your weight gain journey. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial video and got to learn quite a few things. Of course, if you have any further questions, you can always ask me in the comment section below, so that I can clarify any further doubts for you. Other than that, stay fit, stay fierce, look after yourself, practice all these movements, and keep on moving forward in your journey. And I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye guys.